On the second day of my 2026 Chicagoland Memorial Day extravaganza, that being May 24th, I woke up to two things. First, it was raining. I am so glad that it was raining today and not yesterday while I was at Pine Junction, which has no cover, and O'Hare Airport, where I have to point my camera up. So this was quite a relief. The second thing was this. CPKC 250, one of the America semi-quincentennial units, was on 246, a train that was going to come into Bensenville Yard, which was the main target that I'd be visiting on this day. After packing up and eating an actually very delicious breakfast at the hotel, we made our way to our normal spot by Bensenville Yard. This is a pull-off off of Front Street underneath the Mannheim Road overpass. There's a large gravel area where you can park. This gives a great view of the east end of Bensenville Yard, where you can see a lot of switching moves and engines stored away in the storage tracks. Trains almost never enter Bensenville Yard from the west side, so anything that needs to switch will have to come over here. Bensenville Yard itself was built in 1955 by the Milwaukee Road as a hump and classification yard. It served through Milwaukee Road and Sioux Canadian Pacific, where it was converted to double as an intermodal terminal, and now it's serving for CPKC in 2026. The yard is huge with loads of switching action, and the main line that runs right by means you get a lot of mainline freights as well as Metras. Despite that, it's still not very busy. When we got there, there was nothing moving. The only sights of engines were a GP20C Eco sitting in the yard, and lots of road engines sitting down in the loco storage areas behind the other bridge. It took about 2 hours before anything moved. We did a lot of other things like running around and grabbing food and going grocery shopping while we waited for literally anything to move. We didn't miss anything during the time we were gone because this yard is deader than dead in the morning. When we finally did see action, it wasn't even with engines, as some random cut of grain hoppers was rolling far off in the yard. Then, out of the blue, IHB Transfer GP4 appeared. I have known for a long time that IHB transfers ran into Bensenville Yard, but I had never seen one despite how much time I had spent here, so it was quite novel to finally see it. Power was IHB 4013 and 4011, both GP40-2s that were originally built for the Southern Pacific. As the IHB transfer was passing, we checked Metra.com and saw that an inbound Metra was fast approaching. I crossed the road and walked down a little bit and stood on top of some of the cinder blocks that are here for an elevated shot of the Metra, powered by one of my beloved SD70 Mac H's number 524. With nothing else moving, or so we thought, we packed up the lawn chairs, tripod, and everything in preparation for a move towards the bottleneck of the yard to catch more action. But just before we could do that, the IHB units reappeared now as light power. Once the switches were all set in the correct direction, the duo reversed back into the yard and tied down for the rest of the day. Once the IHB engines tied down, I actually made my way towards the bottleneck in the center of the yard. This is where the bulk of the switching action occurs. But before I could see any switching action, I was absolutely flabbergasted because there was a rolling stock maintenance shed right here. This was not here the last time I was in Bensenville. It seems CPKC has really been trying to develop this yard since their merger. Immediately after I took those pictures, a yard movement pulled out, and it was a very good one. In the lead was CP4445, a CP Red GP38-2, and third in trail was CP3133, another Jeep. And in between the two was the reason I was here, Su4448. I've seen this unit on every Bensenville trip, but it's the last unit in this paint scheme, so I'm going to take every opportunity I can to get footage of it while it looks like this before it inevitably gets rebuilt. If what happened with DNH 7304 is any indication, the time might be limited. As soon as that power set disappeared, another one came out of the yard as light power, with another Longhood Ford X2 GP38 in the lead, and trailing second was KCS 2970. This is my first instance of seeing KCS yard power here at Bensenville. Then the yard movement with the Sioux returned. As the Sioux Yard movement was still moving forward, the light power set with the KCS unit came out of nowhere and stopped beside it. As the yard movement with the 4448 reversed, I got a really cool shot of the original Sioux line paint passing by the invading KCS painted Jeep. Suddenly, an outbound Metra appeared. Following that jump scare, things went back to normal, as two CPKC road engines slowly made their way out of the west end of the yard with a long manifest. Those two engines being CP8702 and KCS 4836, two engines which I saw the weekend before this trip at the hospital spot in LaPorte. Kinda crazy that they followed me here. While that train was passing, the 4448's power set pulled out as light power, giving me an awesome triple meet. Now that I had gotten all the shots of the Sioux that I wanted, we decided to head back to the main area of the yard. But we made a quick stop on the other side of Irving Park Road first. Here at the edge of O'Hare Airport property is this desolate pull-off where the old O'Hare Airport People Mover terminal cars are stored. These are the first cars used inside the O'Hare terminals, starting from the early 2000s, but were recently replaced, and ever since have been just dumped here, rotting away on O'Hare Airport property. No idea what will happen to them, they'll probably just languish here till they rust into nothing. Once we made it back to the main area by Front Street, we were shocked to see the intermodal switchers up and active. We knew they were here, but they had been dead all morning, so it was quite shocking to see them moving now, sorting intermodal cars. The two engines assigned to switch intermodals on this day were CP4425, an ex-Sioux Line Jeep, and CP3002, A rare GP38 AC still wearing the old beaver scheme, but it's quite faded. As they push these fully loaded double stacks back into the yard, take a look at the differences between the two schemes. Note the solid sill stripe and darker red color of the older scheme. With the clouds now clearing up, we realize that unfortunately the yard will be backlit for the rest of the day. With those cars in their place, the two switchers left to pick up that lone single stack they had passed several times earlier. They very slowly coupled up to the car, which I'm assuming is a bad order since it's sitting by itself, and pushed it farther back into the yard. By now, the semi-quincentennial unit was getting relatively close, so for a better chance at getting a good shot, we decided to go all the way around Bensenville Yard to the west side. 246 enters Bensenville Yard from the west, and then goes past it on the main line before reversing into the yard on the east end. So I figured I'd get a good non-backlit shot here at the Bensenville Metra station before then driving down Irvin Park Road and chasing it to the other side of Bensenville Yard where I could see it switching. Once I got here, I noticed a KCS engine setting off in the yard preparing to depart right before an inbound Metra came in. It was powered by the SC70 Mac H 523, the one that had jump-scared me earlier at the Bottleneck.
Line train number 2714 to Chicago Union Station is now arriving. Please stand behind the yellow line. No walking left. Line train number 2714 to Chicago Union
After that, the train with the KCS Jivo leading departed the yard, but it didn't go through the Metra station. It took this turn that wraps around O'Hare Airport and heads north to St. Paul. And that made my dad, not me, realize something. Wait a minute, what line is the 246 gonna take? Yeah. I am so glad he noticed, so massive props to him. Thank you, Dad. And since there's no places to catch it other than the Bottleneck, which would be a terrible shot, we decided to head straight back to the main spot by Front Street since we knew it had to pass there. And once we got there, guess what? The intermodal switchers were still working. Looking farther down into the yard, we see that the GP20C Eco is now switching some Loran maintenance equipment, and the KCS Ace is now online. This was a ballast player tamper thing? I don't actually know what it was. I was really hoping it would roll past me so I could find out more, but it didn't. After clearing these switches, the train started rolling back into the yard and it dropped off the ballast thingy. Meanwhile, the power set with the KCS Thundercab Ace leading rolled out of the loco storage tracks, and it let me see that it was a KCS Duo with a Jivo trailing second. Once they rolled all the way out of the yard, the switches were set to send the 2 KCS engines over to where their train was parked so they could begin switching. Just like the Jeeps, the 2 KCS engines slowed to a crawl before coupling onto their manifest. It's nice to see at least some safety practices remain in the post-PSR era. Once they coupled on, they rolled out of the yard with the first cut of their manifest. They'd have to reverse back in later to grab more cars. Then, in another goated dad moment, he alerted me that 246 was right there. I was so glad to finally see this consist after hours of waiting. It was so good. Not only was CPKC 250 one of the beautiful semi-quincentennial units in the lead, but trailing second was a KCS Ace, and trailing third was another ex-Sioux Line CP Jeep, which is returning to Bensenville Yard after getting some maintenance in St. Paul. Since this unit was built this year in Texas, I can't think of another unit better to have the semi-quincentennial paint job than this one. Awesome. Now 246 would start working the yard, so we made our way up onto the Mannheim Road overpass sidewalk to take a look at the yard from above. Not only would this give unique shots, but we could stand on this side, meaning that it wouldn't be backlit. From up here, we got a view of the cars of the KCSA sled train and the intermodal cars being switched by the two Jeeps, another view of the tied-down IHB engines, and a better view of the CP and KCS Givo duo parked in the loco storage tracks before 246 started moving forwards again. We were confused, but it was only to clear a couple points, because soon it started reversing. Here you can see the KCS Givo mid-DPU of 246. The train was cut after this unit to start being switched into the yard. As it was beginning to reverse, the GP20C Eco from earlier randomly appeared once again, now leading what looked like a yard job or a local. I'm not exactly sure, but it didn't move from where it was sitting here under the other bridge for the entire rest of the time I was there. Meanwhile, the end cars of 246 were slowly starting to make their way over the tightly curved track work into the center of the yard for further sorting. And after a long wait, finally, the head end rolled back under the bridge, and I got another beautiful, and not backlit this time, shot of this amazing consist. After that, I wanted a wide shot of 246 when it came back, so I started walking farther down the bridge, snapping this photo of it next to the IHB engines on the way. However, that wasn't to be, as the train with the two KCS engines started reversing, blocking my wide shot, so I had to hastily move back towards the area where I was before, and decided to get a shot of the train rolling directly under me as it pulled out of the yard again, now with a shortcut of 10 or so grain hoppers. Once it stopped, I moved down and got a somewhat wide shot of it reversing back into the yard, which was my best shot of the semi-quincentennial unit all day. Now I had finally gotten all I wanted of the CPKC 250, and it was time to leave Bensenville Yard, since it was hideously backlit when not on the bridge, and there was nothing else good coming. And yeah, that was my 2026 trip to Bensenville Yard. I don't know how, but somehow every year, the trip just captures the state CPKC is in each time. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to catch those units while you can, especially the Patriotic ones, and I will see you in the next video.